We had Rich Thawley here the other day, and we talked about obstacles. You know, and he was talking. Of course, he's been in the business. He's kind of the patriarch, I think, now of WFG. He's 66, he said now, and or 65. I think maybe 65. Sorry, Rich. Had another year, but he talked about when he said he was an introvert as well back when he started the business, and he talked about when he did the presentations. He used to sit in the car with Cindy, his wife. And she'd say, well, aren't you doing the presentation at 7 o'clock? He'd say, well, yeah. And she'd say, well, it's 6:59. He goes, yeah, but it's not 7. And he was funny about that. But he said for a long time, as you mentioned, he was just terrified to get up there and talk to people, whether it was a small group in a living room or a kitchen table or whatever it is. So my question, because we talked a lot about this with him, my question for you is, what if someone's looking at this business, Paxton, or they're new and they just got licensed or they just signed an AMA, what kind of obstacles can they expect to encounter? Because Rich talked about, saying, hey, your best friends might say, take a hike, What can you lay out some of the things they can expect to encounter so they're prepared?
Yeah, so the number one thing, and it's any business, it's sports, right? It's everything. It's rejection, which is losing, failing, falling down. It's all the same thing.
Sure.
Right? So, you're going to get rejected. Not all the time, right? And the funny thing is when you can compartmentalize rejection, because it's 90, a huge number, a huge percentage of the time, it's not about you.
Right.
It's about them or their day or their spouse or their kid just got expelled from school, or you know what I mean? Like it's almost always about something else, not you or what you're saying. It's just bad timing. But rejection is the number one thing. Like fear of failure. People are so scared. Like we go back to the exams. People are so scared of failing. It's like, just go do it. Do your best. If you fail, do it again. This isn't school. You just got to pass and then you're done.
Right.
Right. Like no one cares if you get 90.
Right.
We bug people. You studied too much. Like, because the learning is hands-on. You learn what you actually learn at the kitchen table. Because do you think all the academics that made all these books actually know what we do for families at the kitchen table?
Yeah,
no, they don't. Yeah. Like 20% of that you'll use. The other 80 is just, I guess, good to know.
Just like school.
Totally, just like school.
Yeah.
So I think that rejection is huge. That's the number one obstacle in the form of failure, and like people, your best friends putting you off, and it's just how mentally tough are you to deal with that, right? Which we help people with, but we can't be there with them every second of the way. So mental toughness, how mentally tough are you, right?
Sure.
And it's funny, we have a couple people in our business that have come into our business that are tough dudes. Whether they played sports or whatever, like they're tough.
Right.
Right? On the outside, right? Not on the inside. So you never know who's tough. Because it might be the single mom that's 110 pounds soaking wet that wants it bad. They might be the toughest person you've ever met on the inside. And that's what I love about our company. You never know until you put a jersey on.
Sometimes people will call us and they'll say, those leaders, WFG, guys like you and other people, they'll say, well, yeah, they're really mentally tough. I mean, they just bulldoze through it. I've always been kind of shy, and I just don't want to really get rejected. I'll bet they never even thought about quitting. Yet, as you know, a lot of leaders talk about times where they did think about quitting. Did you ever think about quitting? And if so, what can you tell us the story?
Yeah, so I can't remember a time when I was about to quit, but I can remember some times of thinking about quitting.
I bet when you moved to Ottawa and you didn't know that many people, no one was really there in WFG back in those days, right?
Yeah. No.
That must have been pretty good. The baby in the office, that had to be pretty tough.
Yeah, it was, but I was all in, like 100% all in. Like there's no way, I'm gonna make it happen. And I think you have to get to that point. That's when you're really successful.
How'd you keep yourself in that mentality, though? How did you do that?
I showed up to everything. I talked to my leaders constantly, which is my associations. I kept my associations strong.
But they weren't with you. They were in Edmonton, correct?
We had this phone system where we talked to them on voicemail. I probably talked to Cam Agnew, the guy that brought me in the business, every single day on the phone. Okay. He's earned his money over the years, right? For sure, every day, and now we become like best friends, right? So
sure.
Yes, but I remember this one time I thought, oh, seriously, like what? This is crazy. I just got rejected 3 times in a row, or so I can't. In my mind, I can't recruit anybody or whatever, right? And I remember exactly where I was in the hallway of my office, and I'm just walking down, and I said, what else would I do? What else would I do? What is as good as this? I have not found anything with the upside and the flexibility and the team building and the helping people and the support and the leadership and the personal growth and the difference that you can make in people's lives. There's nothing like it that I've found, right? And I'm all ears, but there's nothing out there. It's crazy. It's amazing. So if I ever had those fleeting thoughts, like what else would I do? Go sell real estate and be self-employed forever? It's not that it's bad. It's just not as good as this. It's just not as good as this.
What do you think is the most misunderstood aspect of the WFG opportunity?
Most misunderstood. I think at the beginning for any, not even just WFG, but any business, people don't realize that it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a big effort to get big results, I would think, right? But then on the other side of the token, it's so simple. It's not difficult. It takes effort and work, but it's not complicated, right? We have a system. It's been honed and perfected, for lack of a better word, over years, like decades, right? And it's an amazing system and it works. And we're always, for the culture or for where you are, like what city you're in or what province or what nationality, all these different things, like it's always tweaked a little bit to fit our personalities and how we deal with people and stuff, right? And it is amazingly simple if you keep it simple. It's not that complicated. You don't have to learn that much stuff. There's a learning curve because it's a new industry, just like anything. You got to learn, right? But it's not complicated, but it will be work. And just how much you want to achieve is how much work you're going to have to put into it.
What about people that say, oh, well, it's great business, WFG's great, but, I missed the boat. I mean, I should have been there in 2006, when Paxton was there, or 2002 or whatever. Yeah. Have people missed the boat? Because last week we talked to Tom Matthews, and we asked him about this. We asked Rich Stolley about it a couple weeks ago, and they are I won't tell you what they said yet, but they had very strong responses to this. What about people that say they missed the boat? What's your take on that?
Okay, so that's funny. I had that exact question for a leader when I got going. Like, when is this going to be saturated?
Right.
And he went into this whole.
I missed the ground floor.
Yeah, and he's kind of like, well, yeah, and he went through, and it's okay, no, but I didn't quite believe it. Now I've lived through it. Okay, so when I moved to Ottawa, there was a little office there, maybe 20 licenses, something, not a lot going on, right? So there's 1 million people there, and over the last 9 years since I've been out there, we've licensed 250 people. I'm the top contract, making $850,000 a year. I've licensed 250 people over 9 years. That's not me, that's me and my team.
Right.
Right? And we are a speck in Ottawa. Like a speck. Like there is room for 5,000 licensed people.
So it's wide open.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I moved to Ottawa because there was a wide open city. I didn't realize that Ontario and Quebec is completely wide open, right? I think there's 200 licensed people in Quebec, and there's 8 or 9 million people there.
Wow.
Like there's nothing there. It's crazy. And then I'm not sure how many licenses in Ontario, maybe 1,500, but there's another 12 million people there. 2/3 of the Canadian population is within about 6 hours of us, and. Wow. We've been in business and we're one of the fastest growing teams, and we've got the top contract and, we're the top, 25 super bases in the whole company. And I've got 250 licensed people. My goal is to have 10,000 licensed people in Ontario and Quebec in the next 10 years. And there's still room. There'll be someone on my team that me net of them will be bigger than me.
Wow.
Right? So someone that joins my business might I'm still, they're still on my team, but there's going to be people that do it way faster than me on my team. You've heard of Raja.
Sure.
In the same time that I've been in Ottawa, he's been in business. So coming up to 10 years.
Okay.
And he makes 5 times as much as I do. He's done 5 times the work, I think. That's probably what he's done.
Sure.
Right? It's crazy.
Well, so you think the opportunity is as good now as it was in 2006?
So not only is the market huge and we're a spec, right? This is the best time ever. Why? Because people are hurting financially, right? The industry's dying. The industry is aging to help families, right? And on top of that,
can you explain that? I know what you're talking about, but maybe it's something.
Yeah. So
the average age of the financial average.
Yeah,
financial
and I don't
planner.
know what the exact stat is, but this was a stat a long
early
time
60s,
ago.
Late 50s, yeah.
It was like 55 or 57 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. And you go to a conference.
I think it was 59 when we talked. I won't say the company name, but we work with financial service companies. I think it was 59 about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, and the industry. That's what's also the beauty of WFG, which why I think I just love the fact that we do this. We are a grassroots company, so we bring someone in like you that would have no background in financial services, right? Or me that was a cop, right? Where the rest of the industry typically takes from each other.
Right.
So they're not really growing the industry. Now, they have some new people and stuff like that, but they don't have the training program we do.
And they're still focused on the top 1%. Totally. That's where all the money is, right?
Totally.
I mean, unless you're building a team.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to do it over again, start over, it's 2006, you know what you know now, though, what would you do differently?
So, what would I do differently? Number one, I would be more coachable. So remember I talked about there's a system, right? There's a system and not all of it's written down. Some of it is what your trainer is telling you that you should do. I would just do that faster.
Did you fight it?
A little bit. But a lot of it was because it was uncomfortable and I was scared.
Okay.
But I think I would attempt to suck it up more and just do what he told me to do because he's telling me what's good for him, what's good for me is good for him, right? So if I'm successful, he's successful too.
Well, what did you fight, for example? What were some of the things that you pushed back on?
So at the beginning, remember when you said field training you said it was probably just the client side? Well, we talk about client and business. We just show them, right?
Okay.
And then say, are you interested in either?
Right.
So at the beginning, my first probably 10 or 15 appointments by myself, I only talked about the client side. Because that was my comfort zone.
Right.
So I was getting good at that.
Okay.
Right. So I was talking about the client side of what we do, not bringing up the business opportunity, because I felt it was, to me, it was uncomfortable because it was recruiting, which I learned that every Edmonton Police Service is recruiting.
Sure.
Everyone's recruiting. Right. That was uncomfortable for me. So I would, number one, be more coachable, and number two, I would recruit more people direct to me. I would talk about the business more. I'd get more passionate about it quicker.
As opposed to just the product, their financial plan, insurance. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it helped. I got really good at that. So then I was able to train people on that quicker maybe. But building a team, like you're going to find people better than you if you build a team.
Sure.
Right? So that's the best thing you can ever do is build a team. And if it's good enough for you, why isn't it good enough for somebody else?
True. Right. Anything else you'd do differently if you had to start over?
If I had to start over, I would... I would work harder than I did. I did get minorly distracted a few times with some flavors of the month. I would stick to the basics. So the things that I was good at, I would do even more. I would work harder, right? Because if I work harder, I have more freedom in the future, right?
Sure.
I always did what's right in my mind, at least. And then the last thing is, I would stick to the fundamentals, stay more coachable. And just stick to the things that got me successful in the first place and not stray. So just keep doing the things that got me there.
Okay.
Faster.
Okay, this one's a two-part question. One is, what advice would you give someone who's kind of on the fence? They're not sure, they're kind of excited, but they're not sure if they should really do this or not. What advice would you give that person? The second question would be, what advice would you give the person that's in the business that hasn't fully gone all in and... and what advice would you give that person?
Okay, so the first one, should you do this? that basically it?
Right.
Should you do this? So you have absolutely nothing to lose. And if you could see what I see, right, you'd have your license already. If you could see what I see, right? So you have nothing to lose. You can do it part-time. You can keep your job. You can do it around your family, your faith, your fitness, your business. You can do it around all of that. Worst case scenario, you get a world-class financial education and you help some people, including your family, along the way. Like, there's nothing to lose. You're going to spend some time, but we're going to spend time doing other things a lot less useful than this, right?
Sure.
So someone has nothing to lose, and I know you might be thinking, can I do this? You 100% can. You got to be patient, right? You got to give it some time. You got to put some effort into it. You got to learn something new. It's something maybe you've never done before. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, right? But it is totally worth it, being financially free, not having to worry about money, having a stay-at-home spouse, and then on top of that, being able to have enough money to get a nanny to help your stay-at-home spouse of your 4 kids that you've had since you've been in business, right? Live where you want to live, on an island green on a golf course with a pool, and just living where you want to live, do what you want to do, be with your family when you want to be with your family, still working hard, right? But you controlling that, not someone else controlling it. That is all worth the effort and being uncomfortable and a little bit of rejection and a little bit of failure and falling down along the way. You just got to believe that you can do it, because you can, and it will be some work, but you can do it. So that's for someone that's thinking, right? Nothing to lose. Give it a shot, and give it a good shot, right? And then for people that are already in the business.
Can you just say, what is it when you say a good shot? What is a good shot? I mean, if this person is your family member, you'd say, just give it to them straight. How much time should they give it before they say yes or go
so
forward?
Give me 6 months. If I could be your boss, I could tell you, this is what you have to do.
Sure.
Right? So come every Wednesday night don't miss training. There's no reason to miss training unless your child is in the hospital or something, right?
Sure.
So you don't miss training every Wednesday night. We go on at least 1 new appointment a week. That's it. 1 new appointment, right?
Okay.
If you do those 2 things and do the things that I say, I'm not going to get you to do anything I didn't do or don't do or anything that's not going to be good for you, because what's good for you is good for me, right? So give me a good shot just means give me some consistency, some patience, and some effort, and be coachable.
For 6 months.
For 6 months. I don't even need 6 months. If you stayed consistent for 3 months and you actually did all of those things, we'd make you your $1,000. We'd make you some more. You'd see it. I wouldn't even need 6 months. But for someone to do that consistently for 6 months, it's just consistency. People, they don't treat it like their job. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
And they certainly don't treat it like their business. They treat it like a hobby. Right. And that's the downfall. Because it's so easy to just go back and watch hockey or football on your couch in your sweatpants.
Sure.
Having a beer.
Eating a pizza.
It's so comfortable.
Yeah.
I love that too. Haven't done that in a long time. And I do not regret it whatsoever.
How about the person they've been in it for a while, maybe they're even licensed, but they just haven't really pushed forward, and they're kind of thinking about maybe I'm going to drop out of this. I don't know if I really want to keep. What would you say to that person?
So it's kind of the same thing. First of all, you can do this. Can we be honest for a minute? On a scale of 1 to 10, and don't be generous, what effort have you really given this? The answer is not high. Right? So
sure.
Again, same formula. You give me 6 months, you show up every Wednesday night, right? We get on 1 new appointment a week, okay? There's no way that I can't take that person into someone that believes in the self enough to stay around to win long term, period. I'm so confident in that. It's just consistency.
And now that you are where you are, it was just really the dream. You guys are all living a great life and everything. And it's the kind of the fantasy that 25,000 people show up in Las Vegas every year, and they see you guys on stage. And I was there last year in the nosebleed watching you guys, and it was tremendous. And you're the dream. So now that you're at the dream place, you're on the top of the mountain, or the place everyone wants to be. What is it like being there for that person that's struggling, that maybe could be there someday, but you're there now? You're at the top of the mountain, you're looking out. You weren't there always. You started where they started. Mm-hmm. Tell them what it looks like from your perspective compared to their perspective.
How this looks.
Yeah, now that you're making a lot of money, and you came from being a cop. I mean, that's a big leap, and that's a fantasy life, right? Yeah. So what is it like to live that fantasy life? So what are they going to be giving up if they walk away?
Everything you've ever wanted. We talk about top 100 list or bucket list or whatever. I'm constantly checking things off that without WFG, I never would even imagine or dream of. So I was one of the fortunate ones that got to play Augusta. I played Augusta about 3 years ago. So I come from a golfing family.
Okay, right? Your brother's a golfer, right? PGA golfer.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Amazing. Wow.
So when I told my dad I was going to play at Augusta, he's like, I didn't even have that on my bucket list. Because it's not really possible.
Right.
Right? It's like going to the moon.
Members only club.
Crazy.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy.
Sure.
I'm gonna go to Cowboy Stadium like in the way I want to go and bring people with me because money's not an object. Money's not an issue. Right. I'll give you one of the smallest things. So we were at hockey. This is the end of last year. So my son just finished beginners, which is like it's before they go into a real league. Right. It's just kind of like playing around kind of thing and some instruction. So they all take turns playing goalie. And there was a kid on the last day who was playing goalie and he was taking the pads off, right? You've seen hockey goalies, big pads and all this stuff.
Sure.
So the equipment is really expensive. Like probably $2,000 to outfit.
Wow.
Right?
That's a lot.
That's on a 7-year-old.
Jeez.
Right? Like could be if you get good
for the goalie.
New stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
For the goalie. Okay.
I know that.
So anyways, so this kid was like, "Oh, Mom, Dad, I really love playing goalie. It's so amazing. Do you think I could play goalie next year?"
No goalie. Yeah. You're not playing goalie. You don't want to be the goalie.
Yeah. So like in football, they give you the equipment. In hockey, you buy your own equipment.
Okay.
And as kids grow, you buy more and more and more and more equipment. It's expensive. Right. So the parents are like, "Oh, I don't know, Timmy. Goalie equipment's really expensive and you're going to keep growing. And I don't know if we can I never want to say that. I never want to have to say that to my kids, and I never will. It'll never be about money. Money will never control me. It'll never make a decision for me, right? And that is so freeing. It feels so good, right? And it's just there's no limits on what you can do, and that we had 4 kids instead of 2 because we made enough money. We would have stopped at 2.
Sure.
What? Like
they're expensive, yeah.
Holy cow. Like I can't imagine not having my daughter Addison and my little guy Pearson. Like that's because of money. People are not having the kids that they should have had because of money. How does it feel? At the top, I'm not at the top, by the way, but I'm like I live a pretty good life. And
there's not too many of you guys. I mean, you're a small group of people.
Yeah. And that blows my mind too, because honestly, in my mind, it was consistent work. That's all it was. Consistent work, showing up, doing what's right, trying to stay focused, and then helping other people do the same thing. And when you're up there, it feels amazing that money doesn't control anything. You have freedom and control and time, and you get to raise your kids instead of, taking them to before and after school care. Your stay-at-home spouse gets to, if that's what you guys want to do. You get to do the things that you want to do. We had a Disney trip. And, in the police days, it would have been, hey, when can you get time off? And then we'll book the trip. This one was, Jill, go book the trip in the best time, the least busy, but the coolest kind of time to go to Disney, which is beginning of December. Because all the Christmas stuff is out, but the crowds aren't there yet.
Right.
So book that time, and then I'll book my schedule off. I'll just block it off.
Right.
It's to me, it's not even a big deal, because that's my life. But if I take myself back to when I was a cop, that's all I ever wanted. The money to be able to do it and the freedom to do it when I wanted to do it and not have someone tell me what I can or can't do. But then the next level is when you can help other people start to do that. I'm starting to have some people, I got about 10 guys and girls making $100,000 a year.
Wow.
And I've got one guy just about to cross $250,000 in Ben Stenford. And then 2 guys right around 200 in Adam and Sylvain. And like I said, it was very about me and my family and I at the beginning. And now it's turned into We're going to get that if we just help all these other people who become our best friends get what they want for their family. How does it feel? I pretty much can't describe how amazing it is. It's worth it a million times over. And it's worth, like I said, I would have worked harder to get there quicker because I would have helped more people along the way and I'd have more people with me right now. So that's why I still work hard. And one question would be, when's enough enough? You tell me when enough families are helped. You tell me when we change enough people's lives to get them from, my top guy used to be an electrician making 35 grand a year, right? And now he makes just shy of $250,000. He's had 4 kids as well, right? They have a stay-at-home mom, so they get to take care of their kids. They bought a property on 6.5 acres, kind of dream property of theirs because they like to run around in the woods and do their thing, right? On their own property. But most importantly, Ben spends more time with his kids now than as if he was an electrician. And that's why I do WFG now, to do that multiple times. And then we already have that, so it feels amazing.
Is there a question that I didn't ask you that you wish I would have asked you?
You're a pretty good interviewer, Steve. Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered it all. Not off the top of my head.
Okay, this is the most important question. Canada, WFG Canada versus WFG USA.
Yeah.
Big difference in cultures, right, and everything, even though we share a giant border, right?
Yeah.
So, first question is, who's better? Is it WFG Canada or WFG USA? You're talking to a lot of USA people here, so.
Yeah. So the only way to figure out what's better is look at the numbers. And at the end of the day, the numbers that we look at are families helped, right? So points.
Right.
Recruiting drives production, but at the end of the day, production, cash flow, right, is what matters at the end of the day.
Right.
Okay. Now, when you have a business that produces cash flow without you sitting down with families every day, that's a better business, right?
Sure.
So I don't know what those numbers are. I love the U.S., right? And there's all different types of businesses within the U.S. I love Canada, and there's all different types of businesses within Canada.
Now, you have a U.S. passport too, don't you?
I do,
Because your mom was from the U.S., correct?
Yeah.
Right, and your dad's Canadian.
Yeah. So I'm excited to maybe hit up New York and Florida in the near future.
Oh, so you're going to come and take some of the U.S. business. Do you have business in the U.S. as well?
Not yet. We have a couple associates here and there.
But you're going to invade
that we map out.
You're going to invade.
To people. I'm not going to invade. I'm going to join the party.
Join the party.
But yeah, so... we'd have to look at the numbers.
I think if a hockey game broke out, you guys would win.
Yeah, and a football game broke out, you guys would win.
Yeah,
that's just how it goes, right? But yeah, I love the competition, and of course we're better. But they're going to say, of course they're better, right? It's all about numbers, and I don't know what the numbers are, but everyone's doing pretty darn good. And what I like to do is I like to look at the teams that are consistently growing, and I go and try to chase those guys down or don't let them catch me. And it drives, and it's all healthy competition at the end of the day.
Sure. Paxton, thanks so much for coming.
Thanks a lot,
We appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.